Welcome back to Writing Done Right. Today we are going to have a look at book trim size. Which size should you make your book out of all of the options they give you? Thanks for checking out this video. I am Tom Murawski, an author and a technology consultant, and today we want to talk a little bit more about book size trims. Now, there's a lot of different options for the size of your books. You can even see this bookshelf back here. There's everything from, huge and massive to little kind of tiny trade paperback type sizes, and we got, of course, Dave Ramsey's huge type book there. So all sorts of options on trim sizes. And if you're working with a company like Amazon, you have a couple fewer options. If you're working with somebody like Lulu or Ingram, you have a lot more options available to you. And that's one factor you have to keep in mind. Where are you sending your books out to? Another factor is, where are people picking up your books? Are they going to buy them directly from you? Are you even going to mess with the shipping and receiving end of things, which you may or may not actually want to? That's completely up to your personal distribution strategy, because it comes with another factor of, hey, what size mailing labels might you have? That's a good question, because if you have to ship stuff out, it costs you money to buy the mailing labels, keeping things in stock, stuff like that. So what we want to do is we want to talk about the various elements of picking the trim size that you want for your book. Let me go ahead and tell you what I generally do real quick. Now, I like writing, mostly I write Christian nonfiction. And so with Christian nonfiction, I go with my nice 8.5 by 5.5 book. It's not too big, it's not too small, just about right. And for this type of book, it's actually fairly standard in the field. Now, the exception is I do this little series. I have two of them out in the series called Kings of All Creation. These are designed only to be like an hour or so reads. They're really easy to read. Even the interior formatting is nice and easy you can pick it up. You can read a chapter in maybe about 10 or 15 minutes at most. These guys here, because of the small page count, but to keep the page count at just the size I need for a book binding, I keep them at 100 pages. So these ones here, I do at 8 by 5. I've also chosen 8 by 5 as the format for Synaptergy, which is my science fiction novel. Now with this format here, it looks like it's about maybe 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit bigger. And with this size here, I kind of was thinking about doing like the smaller trade paperback. The problem is you can't really go much smaller than this on Amazon, and I wanted to have my books distributed on Amazon and also through Ingram. The reason is, if I went just through like Ingram or Lulu, push them onto Amazon, the majority of my sales, which are going to be on Amazon, give me a much smaller commission than if I'm listing my book directly on Amazon itself. And so that's really what I chose to do with this book, is I listed it directly on Amazon itself, and I went with the 8 by 5. Now, they might actually have some smaller form factors now. It's just at the time I was planning this book and working on the book covers, those were the sizes available that I have, and so I went with that. So there's your first kind of question. Where are you distributing your book through? If you do want to do a variety of different companies, make sure the same trim options are available in all of the companies you're using. You don't want to have to mess with different file formats, different versions, and then you have inconsistency in the market. If two people get together and they read it, maybe there's a book club and they all come together and they're trying to talk about what's on page 142, and what's on page 142 on one book trim size is not on page 142 on the other. So you want to make sure you have good consistency across all of your options. Now, for me, this 8 by 5 is decent because I actually use 6 by 9 mailing envelopes, because these guys here can get them down for 27 cents if you buy them in bulk. Very good. Now, something like these books here, where it's a little bit thicker, they actually don't fit in this envelope, sadly. So it would have been better if I dropped this down. These guys, oh, they just slide right on in. No problem at all. Woohoo, right on in. The other ones that are about 115, 120 pages or something, this is 135. This actually does fit in the 6 by 9 as well, albeit it's a little bit of a tighter fit. So if I'm selling these books, I can still use my 6 by 9 mailing envelopes ship one book out per order just fine. Now, of course, as your trim size goes down, you can have more pages in your book, and that means that this guy here, it's a fairly snug fit, but it does fit nicely inside of a 6x9 mailing envelope. So since I do mail out my own books, and you can order them directly from me, it's very possible that I can get a copy of the book, sign it for you, get it into a small 27-cent envelope, and save a little bit of money on my shipping fees. Because if you're selling your own books, you do want to make sure that you are being conscious of the fact that you do have to pay those shipping fees. That's not a misnomer. So there's kind of your first point, is where is your distribution coming from? If you are cross-posting, as we said earlier. Each size book format is probably going to need its own ISBN. So if you're doing a print book, like a soft cover and a hardback book, yes, be aware you are going to have a different ISBN number for each of those editions. Additionally, you need the ISBN number for another ebook edition as well. Unless you're printing exclusively on Amazon, you can get away with using theirs. Now, what I like to do personally is I pick a form and I stick with it. So what do I mean by that? Well, the vast majority of my books, I always use the 8.5 by 5.5 form factor. So these 4 books here, if I'm writing a new general nonfiction Christian book, it goes in the 8.5 by 5.5. I don't even think about it. It's just what they do. If I'm doing any novels, I'm going to put those in a little smaller form factor. The reason, people do like a smaller form factor. I can't get the trade paperback size on Amazon, so I just go with this form factor. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit nicer. It'll fit into a pocket a little bit easier. And it is comfortable and easy to hold, easy to read, so you're just fine with that. And then, of course, these guys here, the Kings of All Creation, those are all going to be the same form factor. In fact, I even make sure that all of those are even the same number of pages. Even if I have to tweak something a little bit just to make sure they're the same page count, the same trim size, the same everything. So always pick your trim sizes and be fairly consistent. You don't want to have a bookshelf that looks like this, but they're all your various books. If someone wants to collect your books, you want to make sure that they all do sit snugly on the bookshelf together. You want to make sure that they're fairly consistent, and you know, that looks a lot nicer than just having a crazy crazy jumbled mess like this would here. So those are just some things to keep in mind. So there's my ideas and thoughts on the trim sizes. Let me know what trim sizes you like. What do you like to read the most? What do you like to produce the most? And if you need any help with trim sizing and formatting, let me know. I do provide that as a service, and we will catch you guys next time. So coming along, and I hope that we have helped you to get your writing done right.